Hey guys, Jordan here. Just finished up an interview with Rob Moroto, a real estate photographer out of Western Canada, and he shares a lot of great information about how to transition from a full-time photographer to building a successful team and company. He also shares his Photoshop action on how to do clean sky replacements, which was very interesting, and it's also included in his course. And he also shares how to successfully manage a remote team from being outside of the area. So anyways, a lot of great insight shared in this interview. I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, Jordan here with Real Estate Photography Hub, and today I'm interviewing Rob Moroto, a real estate photographer based out of Western Canada. Thank you so much, Rob, for taking time out of your busy day and joining me for this interview.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to start off with some rapid fire questions so the audience can get to know you really well. So we'll start off with, when did you get into real estate photography?
That was 2009.
2009. And are you currently part-time or full-time?
That's a good question. I'm a full-time business owner and a part-time photographer.
Very good. And what's been your best year in real estate photography?
Ooh, revenue-wise, that would have definitely been last year, but personal growth side, I would say back in 2010.
2010. So talk to us a little bit of, I guess we can get into that a little bit later, but how long did it take you to transition into becoming a full-time real estate photographer?
Ooh, that would have been around, I would say 6 months from start to full-time, yeah.
Very good. And how many repeat customers do you service on a regular basis?
That's a good question. I would say around 300 to 400.
Yeah. Awesome. And being somebody that's very, that has been in the business for a long time, do you recommend somebody starting out full-time or just transitioning over a period of time like you did in 6 months from part-time to full-time?
I always recommend do what is financially possible for you. Like, if don't overstretch yourself. It's a big gamble to go out there and start your own business. So if you have the safety nets and you are able to do it, then great, go in. And it's like gambling, right?
Right.
Stay within your limits.
Yeah. I guess that's a great point. So currently you're a business owner, and I know we were talking a little bit about before, you live on Vancouver Island now, and your business is based out of Alberta?
That's right. I've got Calgary Photos, which is my firm in Calgary. I've got 12 guys that are running around the city shooting video, photos, Matterports, eye guides, and all that stuff. And I essentially sit on my chair on an island and manage all of that.
Nice. So talk to us a little bit about your journey as a real estate photographer, just for those that, you know, might be interested in growing their business to the level that you have and transitioning to more of ownership role versus the photographer.
Okay, so with me, I was a real estate marketing manager. I was doing high-end, high-rise condos, and in 2009, well, essentially everything just fell. Real estate just bottomed out, and there was a lot of bad things that happened in 2009. And at that time, I just essentially had to leave the industry. And I said, you know what? I'm never going to work for another developer again. Screw it. I'm going to go and follow my passion. And it just happened to be that the day that I decided to do that was the day that one of the local camera stores was having their launch party for the Canon 5D Mark II. And I went in, I had my severance check, and I bought some gear. And then next thing you know, my neighbor says, "Hey, Rob, your wife tells me that you bought a new camera and we're selling our house. Can you shoot it for us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." What the heck? So I shot their house. The photos were horrible. But you know what? The realtor that was listing the place liked it. She became my first client. And then I did a few more and got a little bit better. And sooner or later, it just started to tumble forward and just snowballed to the point where I had enough clients that I didn't need to actually go back and look for another job. And once that happened, then it just grew a little bit more to the point where I didn't have a life.
Yeah.
And I think it was at that point where it's strangely enough, my mother comes up to me and says, you have to have some work life balance. You should hire some staff. I know a kid that you knew when you were a kid. Let me introduce you. And yeah, this young guy who was working in the kitchen of a little sushi restaurant. He came up and we chatted for a while and said, "Well, do you want to do this with me?" And he said yes. Next thing you know, I had staff, and it just started to grow from there. And everything just, I'm very fortunate because everything just fell into place, and I couldn't have asked for anything more. I couldn't have planned that any better if I wanted to. It just everything fell into place, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's kind of weird. I find it interesting how people actually end up shooting real estate photography. But I did want to ask, what lens did you use when you shot your first house?
Okay, so I had, it was the launch of the 5D Mark II party, but instead I got the Canon 7D, which was a crop sensor. So I had a Sigma 10 to 20. Was it Sigma 10 to 20 or Sigma
Dude,
10 to 22?
you had the right lens. You're a step ahead of me. I used I had a 70D. Yeah. Or actually before that I might have had a Rebel. But anyways, it was a crop sensor as well. But I used the kit lens. I think it was the whatever that standard Canon ones, the 17 or whatever 20 to 55 or whatever that one was. I don't remember. The $20 kit lens.
Yeah, the plastic one.
I was like, why doesn't these pictures look good? Well, not a wide angle lens, so.
Yeah, no, I had the 10 to 20, and then I had the 50 mil, the nifty 50, and so trying to shoot an exterior with a nifty 50, you got to get real far back. But the 20 just wasn't wide enough or wasn't zoomed in enough, so I soon had to go out and get another lens. And back then, when you're starting and you try and tell your wife, it's like, no, it's a $500 lens, but I really need it. She looks at you and says, $500? Wow. Are you crazy? That's way too expensive. But now here we are at,
oh my gosh,
after doing this for 14 years, $500 is like, oh, why do you want to get like a
super
prosumer? Yeah. Like, you can't do real work with that. Got to get a $4,000 lens.
You need all the G Masters. I'm pretty much out of buying those. I've bought them all.
Yeah. Same here. I've got more gear that's collecting dust because I don't use it all the time.
Yeah. All right. So talk to us a little bit about your transition and what your business setup looks like. Do you have any partners? How has it transitioned? And,
Mm-hmm. No, it's a good question. So once I got my first guy, Yuki, then it just happened to be that, let's face it, back in 2009, 2010, realtors were just starting to see the value of professional photography. Like they didn't even have cell phone photos back then. They just shot with, their point and shoots and put it onto MLS. And so it was really game changing for us to be coming in and doing professional photos. And so I was probably one of the first companies in my area to do this. And we got a lot of people that just kept on sending resumes saying, hey, I want to be part of your team. I want to be part of your team. And all I asked them to do was, show up, because I wanted to see, are you personable enough that I can actually put you in front of a homeowner and not get sued?
Right.
Essentially. Right. And so I wanted to meet them, see if they've got that personality. Second, send them out, train them, see if they work. And then boom, you got a few more staff, and then you just rotate them through. I think the biggest hurdle for us was learning how to do scheduling with 4 or 5 people in the very beginning. That was tough. And it took us a long time before we found a good scheduling app that we could hack our way to make it work the way that we wanted it to. But then aside from that, in terms of growth, Uh, you're probably like me. I'm a gearhead. Anytime you see something out there and it's like, oh look, this came out with this kind of camera, I just have to go get it. And so, we got. Do you remember Nodal Ninjas? They're a panorama head, and you put your DSLR in it, you spin it around, it clicks at exactly 60 degrees. So
Oh wow.
with 6 shots, you can get a full panorama. You stitch it, and we were doing virtual tours like that back in 2010, and it took forever because we were still doing HDR, we were still doing stitching, and then because we didn't have all these online platforms to host it all, we were actually writing our own HTML code and
Oh wow.
putting that up, making custom websites for people so that they could see the virtual tours. And we were doing that for a long time, and then we saw Matterport come out, and we thought, well, geez, this solves a really big problem. We could just shoot it with a Matterport, not have to process anything, have a whole bunch more scans, do this whole dollhouse thing. We could charge the same or more, and it takes us a quarter of the time. Great, let's buy the Matterport. And then iGuide came around, and we got that. And then we got video. We got a videographer coming on board, and then we started doing iPhone videos as well. So we got a couple of our guys with iPhones on gimbals, and they're going around shooting houses with that. And they're even doing all the post editing of their videos on their iPhones using iMovie. And it's quick, it's easy, and it's done. And I think the last thing that we just added on was the drones, since DJI came up with the 249 drones.
That was the last service that you added on?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
drone
Strangely enough, that
photography?
was. Yeah, yeah. We had everything else, and then just I don't know. The Calgary was always very sticky about the regulations with drones, and
Oh,
then when the 249s came out, we were able to skirt all that, and it just became a whole lot easier. Like before, the problem was like even if you had your advanced, you would still have to call in to the local airports, the city, and different municipalities, get the clearances first, set your date, and then you had to go out. So it was a
wow.
big ordeal
Yeah.
with just the paperwork beforehand. And that made it so that it was not cost effective because you get everything set up for say Thursday, and then all of a sudden it's windy on Thursday or snowing on Thursday or whatever on Thursday. You have to change it, then you're pushed back another 5 days or so, and the clients just didn't like that. So we
Was it
avoided
is
it for a
in
while.
Canada, is that only if it's in a certain area within an airport? Or is that all over the place?
That is pretty much that was pretty much all over the place. But then they've streamlined it more so that you can get your clearances with an app instead.
Like
And it's
instantly, basically?
yeah, yeah. So it's gotten a whole lot better for our industry, but it at the beginning it was just absolute nightmare.
So the ultralight drones were the one. So you could bypass all those rules and regulations in Canada if it was less than what, or
249 grams.
yeah,
Yeah. And so that's what we've been using lately. Just the Mini 3. The camera's not bad on it. It's not great, but it's
yeah.
not bad.
The Mini 3 Pro, I think the one that I have, I compare it to like the original Mavic Pro. It's like pretty good. It's not like, because I've pretty much owned all of them. I
Yeah.
have way too many drones. Now that I think about it.
Yeah,
Which
right?
drone? The
No,
2, the 3? Yeah, I'm trying to remember, but yeah.
no, exactly. And we started using the threes because we like the fact that it could do vertical video
Oh, yes.
right off the bat. Yeah, that was a game changer there. So especially with all the social media stuff and people wanting reels and
Yeah. So are you finding you guys getting a lot of requests for the vertical videos?
we are, and so what we get is we get clients asking us. They're like, oh, can we get this video shot or processed edited in both landscape and portrait? and they think that they could do it with the same cut, and you typically can't unless you're doing where you take the video format and then or the vertical format and then you add like 3 frames into that, so you have 3 horizontal frames in your vertical format. That's
Yeah.
the only way that it works. You can't really cut a you can't really reframe a horizontal video into vertical and make it look good because you're just cutting out way too much. But that's what they want, and so we figure out ways to do it. But for the most part, we are able to essentially double dip on a shoot because we shoot it once horizontal and then we shoot it once vertical, and then we get to charge for that extra work, and it's great.
Sure. So what are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing currently in your business, and or that you face as you transition from being a shooter to a more on the ownership side of things, managing? I guess yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay, let's go with the last question first. What was the challenge going from being owner operator to being owner manager? The biggest challenge is real estate photography, and any kind of photography it's a goodwill kind of business, right? And our clients hire us because they trust us or me. And so when all of a sudden it went from me to having another shooter, then all of a sudden like, oh, Rob, why aren't you coming to shoot this? Why are you sending your lackey or your intern or your assistant to shoot this? And the hardest part was to get out of that, where I had to instill trust in my clients that my other photographer was able to do the same or better than I could, right? And once I was able to get over that hurdle, essentially I just had to pull myself completely out of the picture. So I had 6 photographers and I didn't shoot at all. I sent all my other photographers, and so there was like an even playing field of talent. And it took me a hard time to get to that point because, number one, if I'm not shooting, I'm also not making money. And you know what? When you're married, not making money is not something that your spouse usually appreciates. So I had to find a way that I could produce or get enough clientele that I could give all the work to all my staff and just move myself out, and then I could make my living off of the residual. One nice thing that I've done, and it really saved me in the end, was when we started the company, I named the company Calgary Photos. I didn't do Rob Moroto photography because I didn't think that rolled off people's tongues very easily, and people have a hard time remembering my name anyways. So it was just easier to say Calgary Photos. Everyone remembered it. And the nice thing about that is that, if I had made it Rob Moroto photography, they'd always be asking, well, why isn't Rob Moroto shooting my home? And I was very lucky that I did that. So that was the big hurdle there. And what other hurdles did we have? Oh, yeah. I think the other challenges that we had with the business was that we have always put our prices online, and we want to be completely transparent, completely open, and so that if everyone says, well, you overcharged, it's like, no, man, it's right here. It's online. It was in your booking appointment, and you can't argue that because you agreed and accepted all these terms. So no, there's all our pricing. But the downfall of that is that when you put all your pricing up, then the next person who comes around can always undercut you in terms of price. And we've been seeing this happen everywhere, where one person comes out with a lower price and the next person comes out with an even lower price, and it just becomes this battle of who can do the most Walmart rollbacks before we all go broke. Right. So yeah, I think that's a challenge there. And
so is that a current challenge you're dealing with, or is that something that you've addressed already?
It's an ongoing challenge, but we're addressing it with our clients because we've always told our clients it's like this. You can always find someone cheaper, but can you find someone more reliable than us?
Right.
And as soon as we say that, they're like, oh, yeah, I guess I could find someone cheaper, but I guess reliability is more valuable than, the 10, 15, 20, 50% that I'd be saying with somebody else. I'd rather have something more reliable. It's like this. It's like, yes, you can find yourself a cheaper car, but is it reliable? Will it get you to where you want to go? Right.
Right. Yeah, and honestly,
So,
I've always thought of the business more as it's a customer experience, customer service, and we just so happen to do photography, right? We actually don't even like, it's almost preferred to hire non-photographers when they come work for us, because a lot of times they'll bring their bad habits over with them, but we really, really care so much about, like you mentioned, does this person represent, is this person gonna avoid me not getting sued, right? How's that, how's
yeah.
that interaction? Is this person representing my company in a fair way? And that is like 1 through 5 what we're looking for, and that's like the fastest way. If you're not delivering a great customer experience, that's really everything else, in my opinion, is pretty simple. Real estate photography is not the hardest thing to teach other people or to do, depending on the style and shooting techniques that you use. Obviously, you can make it as complex as you want to, but yeah, I think it's very important. And I think the more you focus on that, then your product, the product, somebody else can do photos for $50 or something. Like, what is that overall experience? How's that reflect on you as a customer? As a real estate agent, does Joe Schmo just show up, looking all tattered and weird, or whatever, like, how does that perception go on you, anyways?
Yeah, no, exactly. And we do the same thing. Like I've got uniforms for all my staff. I've got professional business cards, and we've got the whole shtick down where you get to the house, you introduce yourself. I'm surprised some of the younger guys that we talk to, they just don't know how to. They don't know how to answer a phone. They don't know how to introduce themselves. They don't know how to start a conversation. So sometimes that's part of the training, where it's like, hello, my name is.
Right.
Start from there. Like, I'm here to photograph your home. I will be around 40 minutes in your home. Here's my business card. And do you mind if I leave this little tent card in your house to show that we were the ones that photographed it? Like, just simple things. But you're right. That's the thing that they absolutely need, because in terms of the photography itself, well, you're absolutely right. Like, that portion, that product is fairly simple, and it is easy to teach. You teach it, I teach it. It's all out there. But the person, the people side, the personality side, that's a little harder to teach.
Right. Yes. 100%. Like, somebody can actually, and this is why we always do like a 90-day probationary period as well, because somebody can fake the funk in an interview, but when you get into those interactions and we're like, wait a minute, pump the brakes here, like, no, this isn't gonna cut it, like,
Yeah.
you at least give yourself, obviously you got to know your state laws and what, from a hiring perspective. I don't know if it's different in Canada. If you do, I was going to ask you if you guys do employees or contractors, and how does your business model work for your business currently?
So we hire based on a subcontractor model. And the reason I do that is because I actually want my photographers to grow as photographers in and of their own skills. So I've had photographers that were doing real estate photography, but then they were also interested in doing things like weddings. Well, weddings are usually on weekends, and when you're starting out, it's hard to get booked up every weekend. So what's nice is that we were able to give them the platform where they're shooting every day. They're learning their camera, they're learning their lighting, they're learning everything about that, improving their Photoshop skills, improving their Lightroom skills, and they can still go out and become that wedding photographer or portrait photographer or event photographer, commercial photographer, whatever they want to be, so that they can grow on that side. and we'd always throw them extra business as well. So if someone comes up to us and says, "Hey, you know what? We got a rock band coming into town, and we need a photographer." It's like, okay, this guy's really interested in that. Let's send him, and they can, you know, you guys can work out whatever the contract is for that. But I like that subcontractor method because it also makes it so that the photographers uh, aren't that they're getting paid for what they do for what they work. Um, we have a reputation in the industry that we are the highest paying real estate photography firm in the area. And the reason I know that is because every time we put out a help wanted ad, all the photographers, well, a bunch of photographers from all these other companies come to us and like, oh, please hire us. Please hire us. We're doing really good. And I don't really like how my company's paying me. And the thing that we've heard over and over again is the complaint about being a salaried employee while being a real estate photographer. Because just like, there's busy times and there's slow times. And so when it's busy, the staff think, oh my God, I'm working so much for so little. And then when it's slow, the employer thinks I'm paying so much for so little.
Right.
And there's always somebody that feels that they're overpaying, and there's always somebody that feels like they're being overworked. So, if you only get paid for what you shoot, then everybody's happy. And I love the fact that my guys can shoot, and some months these guys are raking in, easily 5 figures per month just shooting regularly, right? And then when it comes to December, when it's slow, well, they've saved up their money. They know that there's ebbs and flows, and they know that there's good times, bad times, and they also know that there's good years and bad years. And so, right. I don't know about you guys down there. This year's a lot slower than it was last year for us, but everyone's still happy.
Yeah, we actually do both. We have contractors and employees. So we know there's like pros and cons to both, right? A lot, like our employees, they get more benefits, pay time off, holiday pay, all this kind of stuff. And we also, we figured out a way to kind of bridge the gap. We boost pay during slower period times. And, there are all of those things that you have to address in the business to keep employees happy. And then there's the same types of issues that you have to address on the contractors, whether that's a loyalty thing, there are those problems that you deal with as a business owner. We've had multiple, people leave and try to take our customers, or I'm sure you've dealt with all kinds of stuff too. So we've kind of adjusted as we go, like who does what on the team, and that's a question I was going to ask you. So do your contractors, do they go out, shoot, edit, deliver? Like what all do they do? Or do you have like a editing back end, or what does that look like with your company?
Good question. So just getting back to what you said there, my business philosophy has come from just one saying that Richard Branson said. He said, train yourself well enough that they can leave, treat them well enough that they won't ever want to, or something to that effect, right? And so that's kind of the philosophy that I've always gone with, and my staff have been amazing. I've had 3 people leave so far, and one moved back to Saskatchewan because he wanted to take over his family farm.
All right.
I had one of my photographers leave because she wanted to go back into graphic design and get a regular 9 to 5 because she's got a growing family. And then I had another gentleman who he's a traveling nomad. So he worked for me 4 years, went away for 2 years, came back, worked for me for 2 years, and he's off again. So that works all right. But in terms of what my staff do, I have trained them and to be able to shoot everything, process everything, and deliver everything. So they could pick up and leave at any time and do exactly what I've taught them to do on their own. But they don't. They like the I think we've got a really good family kind of feel, and everyone gets along. They love being able to interact with each other on shoots. So what we found is that it became really good where we have different people doing different things, but at the same house. So we have people who do measurements and eye guide who are separate from the photographers. And
Mm.
because of that, we always have two people at a house. There's always that social interaction. It's always fun. And they, you know, let's face it, real estate photography can get lonely where you go out, you shoot, you go home. You go out, you shoot, you go home, right? And it's always the same thing, but you always feel alone. By dividing the work up into two people, now they've got people to hang out with, and it's pretty cool.
So do you focus on cross training your entire staff, or do you like it like, all right, this guy, this is his skill set, photography. This guy's skill set is videography. Is it like they come in with these skill set, or do you focus on trying to get them all to be able to do everything in your business?
I like them to be able to do what they want to do. So my measurement techs, they're not photographers. They're like accountants. You can't Yes, there is such a thing called creative accounting, but it's not the same as creative photography, right?
Right.
It's so they like being able to just measure a house, do an eye guide. Eye guide, you can't really, you're not getting creative with an eye guide. You got to just set it at the right height and take enough shots that it stitches together. Same with the Matterport. There's no real artistry in it. You can still screw it up by, we've seen Matterports where they're done where the Matterport is like close to the ceiling and you're looking down and everything. So yes, you can screw it up, but that's not the artistry. That's just not knowing what the heck you're doing. So with our techs, yes, they are very technical. They're draftspeople. They're meticulous that way. Our photographers are very different. They like to be creative. So I like to let them do that. And the most creative people I would say is the videographers, because they don't have a set shot list. Like for photographers, yeah, it's like, okay, get 4 shots of the kitchen. Here, take these corner shots, take these straight ons, and then move on to the next room, right? Videography doesn't quite have that. It has this like fluid, let's reveal this, let's reveal that, let's show what this feels like. And so there is a lot more creativity that goes into that. So that's a very different person as well. So we try and keep all of those skill sets separate so that they can continue to grow in those fields. What we found is that, like you were saying, if you train them, then they can leave. Yes and no. What we found is that they can't leave because when realtors are asking us, hey, I need photos, videos, and measurements on this house on Thursday at 2:00. Well, that's 3 people that are needed. And so if one person leaves, they can't do the other 2 things. So they are kind of reliant on the symbiotic relationship that everybody is in. And so maybe that's why they don't leave. Or maybe it's, I don't know, maybe it's the fact that I'm never around and I just call everyone up every once in a while and just say, hey, how's it going? You want to hear a dad joke? Like,
yeah.
That's it.
And I think that's something that my team, so, I'm not a big fan. Like I'm from corporate America before I started real estate my business. You might have been too. And obviously I was always heavy focused on customer service and stuff like that, but I wasn't a big fan of all the conference calls and all the nonsense meetings like as a manager I had to do. So I minimize those as much as possible now. And honestly, I just like to empower people, give them the tools and resources to be successful and the support that they need. And, I found that, that creates a pretty good working environment versus somebody that's just micromanaging. Hey, you did, constantly, right? Obviously, you're going to have to manage people.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so well, let's talk a little bit about the evolution of real estate photography in general, because what happens? You start your real estate photography business, you might grow into a business, and then you create a course.
Right? Exactly. The life cycle of a photographer.
There we go. That's what I meant. The life cycle of a real estate photographer. Yeah. Because we want to talk about your courses. So I guess talk just a little bit about like what your courses entail, why you decided to create them, and who they are designed for.
those are great questions. Okay, so uh, essentially, we saw that during the pandemic, there was this, we thought that we were going to just shut down, right? And during the pandemic, it actually turned out the other way, where all of a sudden real estate started to go nuts. There was so much volume for work that we need to start hiring. But because we can't actually get together, I can't train anyone. So I created all these videos in this studio. So if you do take my course, this is the background that you're going to see through all my videos. And essentially, once we created those training videos for our staff, I had the material. And so I could then just repurpose that and try and sell it. And it worked out really well because unlike you, I like to simplify things. It's like, all right, what do we need for a shot list? Here, this is how we've decided it. How do we look at a room? This is how you dissect a room. This is the shots that you can get from it. This is the package. This is how you decide on how many photos from each place, and this is how you deliver it. And once we've dissected the entire process out like that, it became really easy for pretty much anyone to pick up the necessary things to be able to create that final package. And we've put that out there. It's been going fairly well. I think we've got around I think we got around 180 students, and we just launched it this past January. So not bad for 4 months, I think.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, and I'm finding it to be a lot of fun. And here I am at 47, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm trying to become a YouTuber. Like my kids are like, oh my God, my dad's a YouTuber. It's like,
like, hey, I thought you were 27. Come on, man, I got way more gray hair than you. No, just
right? No, I've been pulling this 27 off for 20 years. I've
been pulling 20.
But it's one of those really cool things where it's like, I'm 47. I'm trying to be a YouTuber. I'm trying to do these online courses, and what I love about it is that it's still fun. And today, while we're recording this podcast, I just noticed that Photoshop did their update, and they've taken the remove tool from beta and put it into alpha. And so, huge day, and I'm pumped. I'm like, oh my God, I gotta do a YouTube video about this.
The new features of the non-beta release.
Yeah, and so it's really cool. And even, their whole, they have a generative fill, which is like the Adobe Firefly. So you can say, oh, here's a picture of a hill. Fill this with a deer. Fill this with a cloud. Fill this with a house. And it'll just like, boop, 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 boop.
Is that live now on it?
That's live.
Oh, wow. It's so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah. And, the technology is just changing so rapidly that I think I just find it so much fun. And I love sharing all of that. And so with my course, because I'm always trying to teach my staff the new stuff that's coming out, it's really easy for me to say, okay, well, you know what, I'm just going to make this video, I'm going to send it to my staff, but as well, I'm also going to put it onto my course. And so every month we're just putting up new content so that A, I'm still training my staff, but B, I'm also providing more value to my students. And I'm hoping that it can go on for a while because, well, for now, I'm still having fun doing that. And I just hope that I don't run out of content.
Hey, the tech industry and cameras, I'm just waiting for a camera that you shoot. It's designed like the sensors for like real estate, the dynamic range that you like for the windows and the interiors,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within 5 years, come on, they got to do it.
Right? Like I'm sure that there's somebody out there right now that's creating a iPhone app so that it will literally self-level, take the picture, process it, do all the window pulls, everything, and then put it onto MLS directly.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It's coming. We just have to make as much money as we can before that happens.
No, like at the end of the day, You always just got to remember, like, the industry will always change, but at the end of the day, you get paid for bringing value to the marketplace, right? The way in which you bring value might be different in 10 years from what it is today. You might only be doing certain products or services, but you know, that customer experience, those relationships you build, and just always working to provide value, you know, whatever that is. You know, there's always a need for somebody to be, I don't think a robot's going to come in and take photos. Maybe, I don't know.
Right?
Because at the end of the day,
the drone.
Yeah, the best use for real estate agents' time is for them to spend on trying to get new customers and landing new listings. It's not to be out there, you know. Anyways, I think there's always going to be that next level of service to be provided and get an edge over those that are just doing the easiest thing. I think there's always that easiest way, because if you look at iPhone photos today, they're probably better than real estate photography 10 years ago, you know, like now with a wide angle lens and the video especially. Man, I've been very impressed with the dynamic range on the iPhone 14 Pro. Like, even the windows, I'm like, oh my gosh, this actually looks even better than my Sony. But then Apple comes out saying that they do use Sony sensors. Yeah, makes sense.
Same, really. No, we like I said, we've been using the iPhone for doing interior videos because it's quick. The clients like that, and it works out really well. And we're putting together a course teaching realtors how to do that on their own as well. Just to add, like you said, add more service to our clients. We're actually, I've got a presentation to the Calgary Real Estate Board coming up on the 29th, where I'm going to be showing them how to do virtual staging on their own. And so that's going to be a really cool episode with them. And I don't know, you're absolutely right. The providing extra service and providing the service, that is the key. Like I had one of our clients refer us to new realtors simply because of how we handled one of their situations. And essentially what happened was we screwed up. I sent out my staff to a location. It was a rural property. So rural addresses in Canada are awful. You can't find these damn places at all. You need a Google pin drop every single time. But my guys went out to the wrong place, and we were doing it as a twilight shoot, so timing was really important. We missed it. But obviously, the homeowner had cleaned their house. They made everything perfect. They got fresh flowers, and they were really excited to do the shoot. And we had to rebook them for 2 days later. So it set back the listing date, and they wanted to get new flowers. They needed to get their cleaner back in. And so we looked at it, and, you know, I guess most companies, they would just be like, oh, you know what, we're really sorry. Here's 20% off, right? We went in and said, no, you know what, this was our screw up. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pay for the cleaners. We're going to pay for the flowers. We're also going to pay for a dinner out for the homeowner so that, you know, to make it up for them, because they are the ones that are actually put out because of this, not the realtor, right? It's the homeowners. So we'll do all of that. And if the realtor still complains, then we'll give the realtor a 20% discount. But I think it's more important for us to make sure that the actual homeowner is looked after, because that's the ultimate client. And because we did that, the realtor said, oh, you know what? These guys get it. These guys understand what service is, and these guys understand what the business is. And they've been referring us to other clients because the fact that we screwed up and how we fixed it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just taking accountability. And I think a lot of creatives, and, you know, they might not have that mindset, but that is seriously what it takes to be successful. You can be the best photographer, create the best photos, but at the end of the day, if your interactions with your customers and the experience out there with the homeowners isn't very good, you're going to get slaughtered by somebody, you know, that, you know, maybe not as skilled as you, but they have a much better experience.
Oh, exactly. It's just like, you know, I tell my staff this all the time. It's like, we've all gone to that restaurant where the food is great, it's cheap, ambiance is great, but the waiter's a dick. Yeah. And you'll never go back just because of that damn waiter, right? So essentially, I tell my staff, just don't be a dick, and we'll be fine.
Awesome. So, so talk to us about like your course. Do you have any specials? Like, where do people go if they want to check it out? Like, what topics do you cover in your courses so that, you know, because a lot of real estate photographers watch this or maybe on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You know,
of course. So so my course is at robmoroto.com, and what I will do is I will make a coupon code. I'll just say Jordan20, get 20% off the code, off the course. And the course itself teaches everything from gear, the setup, all that stuff. It also talks about how to dissect a house. So how to delineate all the spaces, how to think about what shots, like it'll teach you what to shoot, how to shoot it, how to process it, how to deliver it, all the things in between there. And then it'll also get into more technical things like what is Flash? How does Flash actually work? And how should you be using Flash for real estate? But because you know these basics now, you also have a better understanding of how to use Flash for things like portraits and shooting pretty much anything else. We teach the details of things like metering. So if you don't really understand how metering works, well, there's a part of the course on that. And we just keep on, I just like keeping to add on stuff there. So yeah, if anyone's interested, courses at robmoroto.com. And the main premise of how we shoot is it's a combination of like a flambient HDR. And we've got it dialed in so that my staff typically shoots around 40 to 70 photos during the day in probably around half an hour. And then we're done processing within half an hour. And so, you know, within an hour's worth of work, you're getting 40 to 70 photos, and it's a pretty easy process. So I hope that anyone out there that's looking for an easy workflow, they'd be interested.
I just might pick it up, you know, because at the end of the day, like I enjoy learning different techniques from different people. Like obviously I've been in the business forever, you know, I have my own courses and stuff like that, but you can still learn from other people and how they shoot and pick up. You might not take their whole process, but you might get a couple things that you pick out and you're like, oh my gosh, that's like, that could really change the game. That could really make our product better or save me a whole lot of time. And I think a lot of times people don't grasp the concept of, oh, maybe a $300 or $500, whatever, $300 course or whatever it is. You know, you get that back, you know, if you implement one or two things, saving time, like, because you spend especially as a business owner, at least I'm thinking with a decent amount of staff, you know, if we could save some time, implement something, you know, it pays for itself a lot. So.
Oh, of course. Like, you know, just if you save 10 minutes a shoot, this course will pay for itself within a month. Like it's amazing, right? Like we've got like one part of the course that I've done that's everyone's raving about is the sky replacement. Like we all know that Photoshop has a great sky replacement, but the problem is that it's the same set of stock skies, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're flipping through your photos, if you got like 10 exteriors, it's the same sky in every single one.
Yeah, it doesn't change.
Yeah, and it looks fake. And so what we've done is we have gone ahead and made a automation where we've taken our sample cloud shots, made them into brushes, and then made it so that it randomly puts these clouds into a background and then makes that your sky layer. So what it does is that every time you run the entire action, it produces a different sky. And it's 100% random. And we've even got it to the point where it is now actionable through Lightroom. So in Lightroom, all you do is you grab all the ones that you want a new sky on, click export, and bang, all of them are there with blue skies, with clouds, and it's all random, and it looks awesome.
I think that's the video that you posted or something. I was like, yeah, that is the video that I watched of yours. You may have posted it in the Facebook group or something. I thought that was very interesting because that can save a heck of a lot of time, you know? Because if you're doing one by one and then having to randomize the sky or change, move it around in Lightroom. But yeah.
Yeah.
Is that included in your courses? You provide the action already and it's already going, or does somebody have to go in and create the Photoshop action?
So I've always been the I've always believed that it's better to provide people with both. So I'm providing the actions, and then I'm providing, as part of it, the course on how to actually make those. And the reason for that is, if you're in a small community and there's 2 of you that are taking my course, you don't want to look the same. So you want to be able to create your own clouds. So you can go out there, take a picture of your own clouds in your own neighborhood, because I didn't know this. The clouds up in Canada look different from the clouds down in California. And so my clouds don't look realistic in California. So yes, for anyone in California, go shoot your own clouds, and then you can make your own actions. But I've given you the knowledge how to do it, but I've also given you the easy, here, it's already installed. Go, play, run. It's a plug and play. So you get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think it's a better option than I was using, like batch sky replacement in Luminar or something like that. And it does provide, it's still that randomized factor that isn't quite there, but sweet, man. So so you're also part of
a good one.
Yeah, so we've talked about, Calgary Photos. Your course is at robmoroto.com, and then you're also you have a podcast as well called Photo Focus.
Yeah, so Photo Focus, that has been an online thing for, I don't even know from when. But I was invited by my friend Ron Pepper to become a co-host of their podcast, and we do 2 shows a month. One's a roundtable, so we invite 2 or 3 different photographers, and we just talk about different topics. And this week, what we're going to be doing is we're talking with 2 Northern Light photographers, right? Because I don't know. I've lived in Canada and I've seen the Northern Lights twice, and they're just amazing. But the idea of going out and shooting something at night that's moving in the sky, I don't know, that's a whole new thing, right? So we got them on to talk about all of that stuff. And then we also have a regular Q&A show where people just write to us at questions@photofocus.com, and then they just shoot us questions. Like, I had somebody email us and say, does anybody actually use F22? Why is it even a thing? I thought, good question. All right, next. All right, so you can pretty much ask anything that you want. We've had people ask us
hyperlapses during the day. You need, and yes, I've used it, but rare instances.
Oh, exactly. And then we've had clients that are questions like, what do you guys think about pixel shifting? And what do you think about HDR? What do you think about, a lot of customer service questions, like, where do you get your first client, right? Like, things like that. And it's a great resource for enthusiasts, people who are just starting out. And I would say it'd be a good resource for a lot of real estate photographers, because let's face it, when we go into a house, I'm always listening to a podcast when I'm shooting a house. And whether it's your podcast or This Week in Photo or whatever, I'm always listening to a podcast because I can learn something while I'm shooting. And the thing that I have to do better is I actually need to start taking notes about some of the things that I hear on podcasts so that I can start implementing that into our workflow as well, because there's some great nuggets of information out there, and it's all easily accessible. It's wonderful.
Awesome. So, I really, you do have, you sound like you're a great podcaster, because you make my job really easy today. So, an hour went by like that. So I appreciate that. But how do people find you? I think you're newer to YouTube, but are you Rob Moroto on YouTube and Instagram and stuff like that? Tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, so for Instagram and Facebook, I'm at Rob Moroto, and my website is robmoroto.com. And then the handle that I got from YouTube was at Real estate-photography. And I don't know why I couldn't get my own name, but that's the one that they gave me for that. And I've got what, 300 followers, so I probably need a few more before I become that YouTube sensation that my children want me to be, so that they can brag to their friends. So if anyone's listening, please come by, subscribe, get me a few more likes, get me a few more views, so that I can be something that my children can be proud of.
Tell your kids you're not talking to the entire world like Mr. Beast. You have this small little niche over here. So keep those expectations low.
Right? Exactly. Especially on birthdays and Christmas times.
Yeah, that's funny. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for taking time out of your busy day and joining me for this interview. And we will see you guys on the next one.